Finish the Sefer of Korbanot. The Rabbi says that we're starting the fourth Sefer Bamidbar. This is the Inyane Oel Moyed. Yeah, it's all about the mitzvah of the time of during the time of the Midbar and the Nisim and Niflat that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for Klal Yisrael during that time. We find ourselves in the episode of Sfirat HaOmer between Pesach and Shavuot, time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And you see really how the Torah portrays an image of us, of how we were by Yetzias Mitzrayim, and how we're preparing, how we look for by Kabbalah Soter, by Matan Torah. And Rav Shor brings down a pasuk from Yechezkel, and really you're familiar with this, V'avo alaych ve'erech mitboseset bedamaych, that I passed by and I saw you, that you're sullied in blood, and you're covered in blood. That Klal Yisrael were very dirty. They weren't tahor when they're coming out of Mitzrayim, and we're preparing ourselves. Right, we're living through those times. We're preparing ourselves for Kabbalat Torah, for accepting Torah. We're being metar ourselves. We're purifying ourselves, and we're working hard. The weather's getting nice. The day is getting long, and we're preparing ourselves to clean ourselves off from that dam, from that blood. The Gemara says, "Dam ne'kal v'ne'esach halav." That blood gets uprooted, it becomes milk. Right, the mother, the way she produces milk is that her blood turns to milk. Right, and this is the avodat hayom, to be metar ourselves during the Yemei Sfirah, to take the blood, to turn the blood that's dirty and make it into pure milk. He brings down one of the reasons why Taka, the minhag, is to eat cheesecake on Shavuos, is because it represents white, it represents this cleanliness, that this level that we've achieved. Right, ve'avo b'midbar Sinai, Klal Yisrael. We came to Midbar Sinai, ki ish echad belev echad. There was one union. Rosh Chodesh Sivan is coming up. Mamish, very right. We're basically there. Sivan is the mazel for Sivan is teumim, is twins. Right, representing the luchos both sides, but also that we're identical, that we're brothers, that we're together. That there's a closeness and a bond of, there's one who's going through hard times, and a person's going through hard times, they get stuck in their own world, they think about themselves. Certain people, like they're going through some sort of ache, and they're right, but they have time to think, and they're just not involved with other people, and things are hurting, whether it's emotionally or physically, and you get drowned in your own world, and you get upset at other people for not understanding you, or not being there for you the right way. You're just upset, but Tu'umim is that we're together in everything. We're together. Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the sphere, I'm allowed to say it because today is the 43rd day of the Omer, but Rosh Chodesh Sivan is the 44th day. 44th day of the Omer is Rosh Chodesh Sivan. 44 is Gematria Dam. Dalit and Mem is 44. That's the day where we're done. We're done with the Dam. Yeah, we're cleaned up. And we start going on higher levels. That if your hairs are red, kashanim, right? They'll become white. Kashelik, like snow, yalbinu, they'll turn to white. So he brings here B'Shem, there's a sefer called Chama Tava from the Arizal. That the Arizal brings out that there's 49 words in the bracha of Mechayim Mesim. He's saying Shmoneh Esrei. Keneged the 49 days of Sfirat HaOmer, that a person sullied in blood and he's in a state of tumah, he's in a state of death, of tamei meis, and we come to Atchias HaMesim, that we go through Sfirat HaOmer, we're learning Pirkei Avot, Pirkei Avos, we're working on ourselves stark, right? We're pumping up our game. We're trying. It's a time of year where you really feel growth and you see growth. Guys are pulling through. They're going to hear by Shavuos. Some people are going to be complaining, the all night they're going to get the jitters, and then afterwards like, oh, no problem. I could do this every night because it's only a seder. It's a couple of hours. It's not longer than for a seder. People are growing in tremendous ways. It's the Indian of tshuva, of Tchias HaMesim, that in the Yemei Sfirah, when we were in Mitzrayim, we were avadim, and then we left Mitzrayim, we became Avdei Hashem, right? And we cleanse ourselves in the dreg of Matan Torah, we become banim LaKadosh Baruch Hu, we become children of Hashem. It's a time of tshuva, it's a time of tremendous growth that we're all experiencing. It's brought down, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz brings down, the pasuk says, Achet mateh Levi lo tifkod betoch bnei Yisrael. The Leviim, like Danny, don't count them amongst the counting. Hashem said, I want you to count everybody. I want you to count everybody. Rashi brings down, when people love something, they count it a lot. Like, for example, like people who love money, so they count their money all the time, right? People always counting, making check. So in the Torah Kedosha, you see quite a few times, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is counting Kal Yisrael. Everyone counts. The Levim not counted amongst them. Why not? What's pshat? Why shouldn't you count the Levim amongst them? There's a different counting for Levim. There's a reiteration not to count them. What's going on? So the Midrash, so Rashi brings that a Kadosh Baruch Hu saw that there's going to be a Gzeira in Klal Yisrael, something called Chet HaEgel, right? The sin of the golden calf. And anybody who was 20 and up is not going to live because of the sin of the golden calf, right? They're all going to be nifter in the Midbar. The Levim didn't have what to do with that, right? So the Levim, Hashem didn't want them to be counted amongst everybody else, so they had a separate counting. They weren't part of that. Which means, so Recham Shmulevitz says, you see a tremendous lesson over here, that when there's something on the klal, so the individual doesn't necessarily get excluded. There's some exceptions, but generally, when there's something on the klal, individuals don't get excluded. The Rechaim HaKadosh brings down that by Yoshua and Kalev, we'll see the next there. By Yoshua and Kalev, they were part of the Meraglim, and the Meraglim went out, and they spied on the land, and Yoshua and Kalev stood up, and they stood up strong against them. They were tzaddikim. When they left, they were tzaddikim. They were influential. They were strong. They were mighty, right? They had conviction, and they went out to spy out the land. And then whatever happened along the way, whatever change of heart they had, they came back and they said, Eretz Yisrael is not for us. Not for now, at least. It's not for us. It's too much. They're too mighty. They're too strong. And Yeshua and Kalev stood up strong. They stood up strong against them. And Yeshua and Kalev lived. And the Or Chaim Kadosh brings out a diak from the pasuk that the reason why Yeshua and Kalev lived by the Meraglim is because they were Meraglim. If they never would have left, they would have died like everybody else in the Midbar. They were over 20 years old, and they would have died because of Chet HaEgel, despite who they were, because they were part of a klal. And since there was a klal there's a whole klal, they would have died like everybody else. But since they left with the Meraglim, and there was a separate cheshbon why they stood up, because of that zchus, that's why they lived. Otherwise, they would have fell with everybody else. So they fell with everybody else. So Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded to count the Leviim separately. Bechar, right? In Bnei Yisrael, every Bechar, there's a Kedusha to Bechar. There's a Kedusha to Bechar. Animals, regular Bechar also. We already said that Alishur brings down that a Bechar has more of a natural inclination towards Kedusha. They're like, not fair, right? What's that? Right? But a Bechar, he's more connected. There's something special about a Bechar. Something very special about a Bechar. There's a tiniest Bechar. The Bechars, by Mitzrayim, there was a Gzeira before Yetziat Mitzrayim that every Bechar in Egypt is going to die. And everybody had to stay at home, they had to do a mitzvah, they had to put blood on the doorposts, they had to stay inside. Right? Kevan Shanitan Rishus Lamashchis, the destroyer got permission to go destroy. Everybody has to stay inside. The Bechor has to have a special thing, because since the Mashchis had Rishus to go destroy, he doesn't differentiate between a tzaddik and a rasha. And the Bechor was in big trouble, because when there's a gzeira on all, so you have to be careful. You're not singled out. You're not singled out, so a person has to be super, super careful. However, that applies for good also. It applies for good also. As Zohar Kadosh brings down, Rabbi Lazar Amar Tachazi, come see. B'shar dedaini sharya ba'alma, when there's din in the world, lo liba le'inish diatkil shmei la'ila. Don't want to be mentioned. Don't want to be mentioned. We know from Shunamit. Shunamit was a big tzaddikas. She made a room for the Navi, that whenever he comes through town, Navi should have a room with a table and a lamp and a chair. Food, she took care. She's a big tzaddikas. And the Navi told her, listen, it's Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to be standing in front of Hashem. Navi said this, no T4, like straight. You're standing in front of Hashem, what do you need? She had no children. And a lady with no children, and she had no children. And she said nothing. I'm amongst my people. She didn't want to leave the amongst my people by Yom Adin. Because when there's din in the world, you don't want to leave the cloud. You don't want to be singled out. Because when you're singled out, they start looking. Who's that? Right? As I'll tell us, right? You should always be part of a tzibur. When you daven Shmoneh Esrei, when you're omed lifnei Hashem, you daven b'lashon rabim. Right? You say Refa'enu, Slach Lanu. Right? You're talking to Hashem, and he's saying it b'lashon rabim, not b'lashon yachid. He's saying it b'lashon rabim because you're davening for a tzibur. Now, how am I supposed to be answered as an individual? Hashem will answer you quicker as an individual when you're davening for the tzibur. You're davening part of the tzibur. You're part of Modim Anachnu Lach. We thank you, Hashem. Don't single yourself out. You're davening for the tzibur. It's something a lot more powerful. The klal is so much more powerful that you always stay with the klal. And you have to know that there's something going on with the klal that's very heavy. Don't single yourself out. And Tefillah HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're asking Hashem. It's something that you wouldn't get if you didn't ask. Tefillah is a real thing. Ani mipalel, I'm talking to Hashem. Hashem, I need this. Right? I'm not talking about things that you're making up. Oh, Hashem, I need to be a billionaire so I could serve you and have yeshiva das, so I could do mitzvahs properly. Right? You're talking about real tefillah, talking you're having a real relationship with Hashem. Right? You're not tricking Hashem. He knows you. He knows everything about you. He knows everything you're going through.
He knows what you need.
And he knows what you need, but he wants you to have a relationship with him. He wants you to talk to him. And tell him what you need. What do you need? Talk, elaborate. Have a kasher. That's the whole point. The Nachash had the biggest klala. Hashem told the Nachash, everything's going to taste like turkey. Get out of here. Everything's your food. Go. I don't have anything to do with you. Go. Here's everything. Have a nice day. No relationship with him. I don't have a yachas with him. Hashem wants you to talk to him. Talk to Hashem. And in the moment where you're talking to Hashem, and it's tefillah, right? You say korbanot. You get ready in the morning. Psukim de zimra, the psukim lizmol means to cut. The psukim that cut open a channel. So when you stand Shmoneh Esrei, your tefillah goes to Shemaim, to Hashem. You're omed lifnei Hashem. You're talking to Hashem, and yet we're told to daven b'lashon rabim. You're davening b'rabim for everyone, because your individual tefillah is for everyone. Right? It's for everyone. It's so much more powerful. So much more powerful. And I remember Rav Leichter came. He was talking about the chagavim. The grasshoppers, the locusts. Right? The Chagav, they don't have a leader. There's nobody in charge, but when they get together, they become one brain. They travel in this teardrop. They move the same direction. They become one brain. When they join forces, it becomes like one organism, one brain, and they just go. They just go together. Right? They travel together. That's the Koach HaTzibur. The Koach HaTzibur that we find. So by Kabbalah Sator V'ichan Shama'am Neged Ahal, that the nation was by the mountain, by Kabbalah Sator Neged Ahal, by the mountain, Ki Ish Echad V'Lev Echad. And the Or Chaim HaKadosh says the Hachana, the preparation for Kabbalah Torah is to become one. That's the idea with the Mazal. That's the idea of Kabbalah Torah, that a big preparation is to become one. That a klal has to become one. It has to become one. Rabbi Bechai brings down, I have it on the side over here, that once you have a minyan of 10, Tzibur says, Hoshea et amecha uvarech et nachalatecha. You have 10 people together and you already say Hoshea et amecha, like the whole entire nation. Beautiful thing. Hoshea et amecha, redeem your people. The whole entire nation, once you have 10 people together, you're considered like a whole entire nation. A huge achana is to become one. Stop hating on the inside. Take away the friction. Do for others. Let things go. And how do you say? Bizorem, right? Tizrom. Go with the flow. Go with the people. Go with the matzav. It's a big achanas. Sometimes you could be in situations and it's perfect. For a yeshiva guy, it's perfect because there's a lot of people, and it's so healthy to be around a lot of people. When you're around a lot of people, so it really helps mold you and helps develop you. That's like with large families. You walk into a place, a large family, and it's like, how many kids are in this room? You have like quadruple bunk beds, this guy, Then one younger kid always uses somebody else's toothbrush, and the older kid's like, "Oh, you're doing my thing," Like you just have to deal with like a lot of things that are going, like things go wrong, and it's okay, and let things go. And this one takes your sock, and this one uses your deodorant, and this one sat on your bed, and this one took your item, and there was no food over here, and you clearly prepared something for tomorrow, and it's gone. Like just things happen. And it's awesome. It's awesome. You know, you go to I don't know, we live in Connecticut over here, you go to ShopRite and you go with the baby, you know, and all of a sudden the baby goes, wah, and everyone looks at you like, how dare you make noise in the show, you know, like you're a very disgusting person, while their dog is, you know, being a dog on aisle 7 over there, and so cute and so fun. Clean up on aisle 7, yeah, because there's no achrayus to a dog. Okay, go, you know, I'll be back in 3 days. You don't have to change the day. Get out of here, you know. Not taking care of a baby. Taking care of families, it's to build a family class. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's beautiful, and to be around a lot of people is a beautiful thing. And Hashem wants us very much to be. We know klar. He wants us to be amongst people, and to daven with the minyan. Every simcha you make, everybody has to come. You just got married, like the whole preparation. You know, the whole 2 months, 3 months, preparing flowers, ties, suits, dresses, family, invitations, that. Finally the night comes, you think, no. 7 days straight, you're seeing everybody. No, I want you to be with people. Melech, ein melech belo am. Every simcha together. And you have to learn how to deal with people. And that's Torah. The Gimel and the Dalet. The Gimel is the Gomel Chasadim, and the Dalet is the taker. He's the Dal, he's the poor. They need to be near each other. They need each other. There's something being done here. There's something being done. In a marriage, the beauty of Ezer Connect, of coming together and just finding yourselves as not you yourself and not her herself, but you become one now. It's like a whole completely different entity. Mashu acher. Lev echad. Ish echad b'lev echad. It's a one nation. It's not just a line, it's an avodah. And you have an opportunity. Yidden, we go to shul every night. We have like the men's club, you know. We go to shul. Things go down to the coffee room, there's just like we have things, and we're dealing with people and things, and we're helping. Smachot we make, and chatunot and bar mitzvah. We're there for each other. It's not just like, oh yeah, be nice to everybody. You know, I smiled at everybody. Have a nice day. It's not like that. It's for real, coming together, learning how to deal with people. You might have a guy who's, they call him SO. You know, they're socially off. Right? I think he's not like. Deal with him. The guy has social IQ issues. You know, he's saying social cues. Right? He's saying funny things in the wrong places. You know, learn how to deal with him. This guy gets me. Learn how to deal with him. It's a perfect opportunity for shleimus. Right? Like we said today in Avos.
Is running away from him.
That's true, but that's how people do with fears also. You know, the guy who's like nervous to get an aliyah, so every time he thinks he's getting an aliyah, he runs away from this. He goes out of the shul. Okay. It's part of Yiddishkeit that we have to learn how to deal with, right? So yeah, a person could run away from things he's struggling with, or could learn how to take care of it. Lo matzati laguf tov mishtika means that I have control over my body, and you have great opportunities when you're around people to become an adam shalim. Become an Adam Shalom. You'll have people who do something, you know, you'll find anything you do, Hashem will always find something your way, and it's a benefit. The malachim might be cracking up, but it's a benefit. You know, you finally found your perfect spot in shul. Like for years you wanted like the front right wall corner, you know, and then the guy left shul, like you've been waiting for years, and you were too young, so they didn't let you have it, and then you finally got it. You're like, you know, you're like so excited. And a new family walks in, and the guy behind you, he's one of those Shmoneh Esrei daveners, you know. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech. Like, right, he's whispering, but it's so loud, and it's like, you know. And it's like, what the right? It's all Torah. You'll find somebody to deal with. It's so special to be amongst people because you're going to have to deal with them. And it brings you to your shleimus. And when you become chad, and you're a different entity. You know, you take a stalk, you take one stalk, a wheat stalk, so you give it to a kid, he can crack it, no problem. If you take a bunch, you can't rip it. I had a Rabbi Taka, he took a 9X yellow pages in class for little kids. You know the yellow pages? He's like, you know, back in the day I used to, and he ripped it in half. Yeah, we were very quiet for the next half hour. He ripped it in half. Mom ripped it in half. But like a piece of paper you can rip no problem. If you take a bunch together, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle very hard. And if you even more than that, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's Klal Yisrael alone, a piece of paper. You put them together, much, much stronger. Don't be the separator of the paper. You want to be the glue, right? You want to be the glue that bonds it together, not the one that tears it apart. That's what you want to be. Rashi says that legima is achila. Right? Legima is achila. G'dola legima. Legima is so great. Mekarevet levavot. It brings people's heart together. That Avraham Avinu had guests. He brought people together. Food brings people together. And it's g'dola legima so great that you give your guests, right? That you give your guests, that brings everybody's heart together. It doesn't say legima food is so great because you did the mitzvah of hachnasas orchim. It says legima is so great because food. They have a saying: food is the way to a man's heart. Right? Food is the way to a man's heart. Right? A good wife, she knows the secret already before she makes a request. Give him to eat first. Let him be satiated. Let him have some food. It brings a big tranquility. Sometimes you'll have a guy, a new boy, a bacher, he got married, he's new, and his wife, she's not acclimated yet. She doesn't know to cook yet, or she's learning how to cook, or it takes time, or in her family they eat much later, and he comes home hungry. A guy, many guys, I'm talking, for sure myself, and but when you're hungry, you're like a fidget spinner. You're never this and that. Maybe a Rabbi will tell you if there's no food at the house, eat something in yeshiva. Hence the 40 pounds Shana Rishana. Right? Eat something in yeshiva before you come home. Before you go home, don't get all nervous. Relax, calm down. Food does something. Food's very special. But every simcha there's food. Every simcha there's food. Right? How do you get a minyan for a chasana for Shem Brachos? They invented something called the smorgasbord. Yeah, you're gonna get 10 people to come right on time. Right? There's food. There's serving food. Bar mitzvah, there's food. Chatuna, there's food. There's siyum, there's food. Does something. Food is a very special thing. Chiyuv, Oinik Shabbos is a chiyuv, very special thing. Mekarevet, it brings people close. Not the achnasas orchim, the food does. You share some food, it brings people close. Everyone come. What's that? What do you got over there? Sushi. What's going on? Right? You have food. It brings people close. It's mekarev. It's mekarev. Being alone is dangerous. A challenge, right? Ve'vaser Yaakov levado. Yaakov was left levad. Ve'avek ishimo adolot hashachar. Hidarshena. Yaakov was alone. It's dangerous to be alone. And there's times where it's healthy to be alone. Gedolim who are able to isolate themselves. Generally, it's dangerous to be alone. And Chazal are telling us that Ve'vatel Yaakov levado, he was alone. That's when it happened. And then he got attacked. It's Hashem doesn't want us to be alone. Hashem created Adam and Chava, male and female. I don't care what the world says. Look at the world. Hashem created Lo Tov Yot Adam levado. It's not good to be alone. Lo Tov. Lo Tov. That Tov means to connect. It's a big danger. The Gemara in Kedushin says, "Im paga becha menuval zeh," if the Yetzer Hara bumped into you, paga becha bumped into you, mashchel le Bet HaMidrash. Why not? Why Bet HaMidrash? Because that's where people are. Don't be alone with him. He's dangerous. Mashchel le Bet HaMidrash. Drag him to a place where there's other people there. There's menuval. Be careful for him. Lo tov liot levado. A person has to learn that, okay, you want to isolate yourself. There's time for growth and incredible stuff. But Hashem wants you dealing with people. Hashem, you learn Torah, and then you have to fulfill the Torah that you learn. To fulfill the Torah that you learn. And you do things with the tzibur, it's tremendous. The Gemara Shto is very stark, and it's somebody who learns with people versus somebody who learns alone. It's very dangerous to learn alone. You shouldn't be learning alone. You should be learning with people. You should be learning to Sfarim, some say, right? But Lemaisa, there should be other people. You can't compare the Limud of Torah when it's done with the tzibur than somebody who's learning alone. You can't compare. Hashem wants us together. Hashem wants us doing for each other. Hashem wants us davening together. Hashem wants us sharing in each other's smachot and in our marriages and everything together. Hashem wants Kal Yisrael. That was the prerequisite for Kabbalat Torah. Right? That was the positive. There's another hachana. There's a hachana for Kabbalas Torah. Hachana by definition, we say preparation. We say preparation. But really, Hachana means that I'm making a kli that could retain what I'm about to receive. That's a good description of hachana. I want to receive something and I have to prepare myself to be able to embrace what I'm going to receive. I have to prepare myself to retain what I'm going to receive. That's a real hachana. The Avnei Nezer says that you could see something so tremendous that the hashpah Shabbos Kodesh has is that 3 days after Shabbos it's called the previous Shabbos still. Right? And then there's achana, the next 3 days, right? So after Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, is still Kedusha Shabbos resonating there. To the point that if a guy tells a woman, he's very romantic to his wife, and he says, Hareza gitech, im lo bati achar Shabbat, this is your get if I don't come after Shabbos, she has 3 days. Because achar Shabbos means it's still part of that Shabbos. You hear that? Till Tuesday. You heard that before, right? Yeah, bet. Let's go. You finish it before Shabbos. The idea is that when you get your aliyah, you should be fluent in your aliyah. Right? So, and if you daven like the Amshin we'll talk also. If you could daven like the Amshin we could talk also. But right, the kedusha of Shabbos still stays. Also, if he says haregitech achar haregel, right? How long do you prepare for a regel? How long do you prepare for the regel? How many? 30 days, my man. Shloishim yom kodem regel. 30 days before the regel. Doshin v'shalin b'ilchot regel. We prepare for 30 days for the regel. So if somebody says, Mr. Romantic says, hareze gitech, here's your get if I don't come after. Here's your get. This is your get after the regel. If I don't come.
After before.
Hareze gitech. What do you mean? No, after.
You also get 30 days after the regular?
Yeah, 30 days after the regular. Yeah, up to 30 days.
Why wind down?
After 30 days, he says.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's because.
Why is it
so he's it's 2 different sushtals. One's I hear you. Good question, but it could be Rafal because the hachana that you did then, that's the nekuda Avnei Nezer is bringing down, is that because you did hachana for 30 days by the regular, you get 30 days after. Meaning, as much as you prepare, that's as much as you get. That's his nakuda. As much as you prepare, that's as much as you get. Now, it doesn't only mean in quantity, it also means in quality, right? So, by Matan Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to give us the Torah, comes Matan Torah, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to put something, be mashrish something in a kuda into our hearts. And the Torah says, Yomer Moshe la'am al tir'u, don't be scared. Ki leba'avo nasot etchem ba'elokim. Hashem wants to nasot etchem. What does nasot mean? Rashi says, Lashon harama ugdula, to make you great. To make you great. Hirimu nes. Uba'avo te'ah yirato al penechem leviltu tichtau, and his fear should be upon your faces that you shouldn't sin. And the Gemara says, yirato al penechem zu busha. Hashem gave us the Torah Kedosha, we should have busha. We should be ashamed. We should have the ability to be ashamed. That busha brings you to yiras chet. To be scared to do an avera, a person has busha. So the Ran brings down that this is ba'avur, Hashem brought us to Har Sinai in order that we should have something called busha, the ability to be shamed. This is one of the fundamental things that we know we're Yidden, is that if we have busha. By shanim rachmanim v'gomlei chasadim. Busha, if somebody doesn't have busha, we question if he stood on Har Sinai. He didn't stand on Har Sinai. Yeah? Os panim legehenom, uboshet panim legan eden. Somebody who has busha, he goes to Gan Eden. What's going on over here? So the Saba min Vardik, he's going to explain to us what he says like this. He says something incredible. This is a beautiful, beautiful yisod. I think this could take us very far in life. Okay? He says that busha means hargashat hastira. Busha is the realization of contradiction within oneself. You feel the contradiction. It says in Nach that in the days of Achav killed, in the days of Achav, Izebel, the wicked queen, she killed all the Nevi'im, except for the ones that Ovadia hid in the caves. She killed all the Nevi'im. In all of Klal Yisrael, there was around 7,000 knees that didn't bow down to the Baal. 7,000 knees that didn't hit of people who didn't hit the ground, that didn't bow down to the Baal. People were infested with Avodah Zarah, with this Baal business. Okay? And because of that, Eliyahu Navi made a gzera that there's going to be a famine. And there was a famine for 3 years. Okay? And then at the end, he gathered everybody together, and he said, we're going to have a showdown right now. You bring 450 of your men, your Nevi'ei HaBaal that are worshiping the Baal. We're going to have a showdown. Right? You're going to bring a korban, I'm going to bring a korban. Your korban, you're going to do your whatever you're going to do, and then, if a fire comes down from Shemaim and takes yours, you win. If a fire comes down from Shemaim and takes mine, I win. Right? And they were doing all these dances, and look at Malachim, he starts making fun of them. Oh, he's not answering you? Oh, maybe he's in the bathroom, maybe he's sleeping, maybe he's at a lunch and learn, whatever he's doing. Right? He's talking to a star mate, he's busy right now. He can't come to you right now. Right? He's poking fun, they're dancing, they're cutting themselves, they're trying to pull shtick. Nothing happened. Then Eliyahu Hanavi comes and he digs a moat and he pours water on it. It doesn't go good with fire. He pours tons of water, he fills the moat with water, rock, stone, zachin, and he gives them a shmuz. And he says, Ad matai atem poschim oshtei sifim. How long are you going to be sitting on the fence? Pick a side. If the Baal is the God, so go serve the Baal. If Hashem is the God, so serve Hashem. But stop sitting on the fence. Don't call yourself Jews and say Baruch Hashem while you're serving the Baal. Stop sitting on the fence. And then he davened to Hashem. A fire came down. The rocks, the stones, the cow, the dirt, everything. There's just a crater left on the ground. Then everybody drops on the floor. Hashem Elokim, Hashem Elokim. Okay, shkayach, yeah? The tshuva, 100%, the tshuva. Frekt Saba, why do you give them a shmuz first? Saba. It says Saba min nevardik. Is that alter min nevardik? Yiddish. Yeah? Why did he give them this? Why did he give them this hakadama? Why did he give them this whole entire hakdam? Why did he give them this whole shmooze? What was the shmooze about? Yeah, how long are you going to sit on the fence? Just say, watch this, and it came down. You know why, he says? This is a big nakuda. Because if you don't realize you're sitting on the fence, then it'll just pass you by. If you don't feel the stira, if you don't feel the contradiction, you won't feel the busha, and it'll just pass you by. So you'll be like, okay. So it didn't happen to the Baal, and it happened to the Hashem, but I can still serve Hashem and serve the Baal. If it's not pointed out to you, if the stira is not pointed out to you, if the contradiction is not pointed out to you, you could keep doing what you're doing in a terrible, terrible thing. You could keep contradicting yourself your whole entire life. You could be very unhealthy and super health conscious. You could be eating and you're super unhealthy. Right? You're eating unhealthy things because you don't chop the stira yet. You don't chop the contradiction. If it's not pointed out, if he didn't point it out, okay, so what? So I'll do this, I'll do a little that. What's the big deal? They say a guy came to a Rav, two people came to a Rav in a fight. They needed a dayan. And the first guy says his whole entire case, and he's screaming and he's yelling and he lays the whole case out. And the judge says, Taka, you're right. And the second guy goes, whoa, what do you mean? You didn't even hear my side yet. What about this? What about that? And then the judge looked at him and goes, oh, Taka, you're right. Then his wife goes, I don't understand. How could they both be right? He's like, I know, you're right. Right? If you just tra-la-la, it just, nothing ever comes to fruition. Nothing ever comes to fruition. And there are things in our life that we know. We know. Talmud Torah keneged kulam, which means bittul Torah keneged kulam. Right? Right? And you can do it, and it's fine, because if you don't feel the contradiction, you won't get mevuyash. You have to, right? Hashem sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Hashem, open my mouth so I can say Shemona. You're about to stand in front of Hashem. You're about to have one of the most holiest experiences of your life, to stand in front of Hashem and talk to Hashem. And you say, Hashem, I can't open my mouth without you. Without you, Hashem. Hashem sefatai tiftach, so I could say your praise. You saw what Reuven did yesterday? That you don't have to daven to Hashem, right? You could open your mouth and pray all day, but to daven to Hashem, you need a tefillah, so I could even open my mouth to daven to Hashem. There's no contradiction. I remember when Rav Lechter was here, he said, I was so happy. I told him this, woof, I was not the one pointed at. He's like, you're so sincere, and you daven to Hashem, Yishuasecha kiviti kol hayom. Liar! And he starts pointing, you liar! He skipped over me. You liar! Right? He was saying, you waited for Hashem all, Hashem Yeshua, I waited for your Yeshua all, liar! Where's the contradiction? Where's the contradiction? In life, we do things all the time, and we don't notice the contradiction, so there's no busha. If you notice the contradiction, you'll be a little embarrassed, and maybe you'll stop. That's the achana for Kabbalah Satira. A Yid came to a Rav one time, he came to Rav Galinsky, fired up. He was very, very fired up. He's like a chutzpah yak, this guy's taking me to court. I got a summons to a Beis Din. The guy's taking me to Beis Din. I opened up a grocery shop right next to him. Right? But so what? Okay, so he sells milk, I sell milk, he sells bread, I sell bread. But so what? This guy, a chutzpah, he's taking to a bezdin, hasagas gvul. Where's his bitachon? Where's his own bitachon? There's a Ribbon Shalom, your parnasa comes from Shemayim. Where's his bitachon? And Rav Galinsky looks at him and he goes, why don't you open a flower shop, Mr. Bitachon? If you had so much bitachon, you'd open a flower shop, no? He's contradicting himself. He has so much bitachon, so it doesn't make a difference what you do. It'll come anyway. So why are you doing hasagas gvul to the guy? Right? And busha is a delicate thing because you could do. Imagine a Rosh Yeshiva walked in. Yeah, imagine like a Rosh Yeshiva from Eretz Yisrael walked in, and he sat here, right? And like Yeshiva is like in Shanghai. It was like 400 degrees on Yom Kippur, and they wore the frock and they wore the hat. They did it, They didn't lounge, like they did it. They stood Shemona Esrei like trees, like they didn't move for hours at a time. Kulo la Hashem. They didn't play games, no games. Imagine one of these Rosh Yeshivas came, or Shmuel Berman came in, Alav Shalom, right? Fire. They come, he sits down, throws off his hat, takes off his back like halfway, rolls up his sleeve, shows you his guns, and sits here like that. Would he do that? No way, right? And you'd be like, what? And would he do that? Busha v'cherpa. Would he do such a thing? Absolutely not. But when he comes to put on his tefillin, he takes off his hat, and his frock comes half off, and he rolls up his sleeve all the way, and he puts it on, and there's no busha. He's doing the same thing, but one you're supposed to be doing, and one you're not supposed to be doing. Irrelevant of what you're doing, it's who you are. Now, in the first case, there would be busha because he's not supposed to be doing it. In the second case, right, there's a hagashat astira, there's a contradiction here of who I am and what I'm doing. That's not supposed to be. That's called hagashat astira. And Klal Yisrael, when we left Mitzrayim, there was a stira there. There are people that were memtes sharetuma, right? Some bring down was avodah zarah by kriyas yamsuf. On one hand, you're saying, you're using your finger and you're pointing zak keli van veo. On the other side, you're holding your teddy bear. Right? You're avodah zarah. And you're like, right? It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction. The achana for Kabbalah Torah is to feel the stira, to feel the contradiction. And what in my life is a contradiction to me?
Was that achana?
It's called as achana because why is that achana? That's the whole. Because that's what Hashem said. Leman tir'u. Hashem says, "Ba'avur tiyu yirato al penechem levilti tichteu yirato al penechem." The Gemara says, "Ubusha." We're going to be mekabel the Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu gave us a warning. We're Kabbalah the Torah. Zu busha. What's busha? Busha is when you feel the contradiction in yourself. I've sat there before, like reminiscing about something like that I've done before, and then also I feel myself getting red. Like, I chop the contradiction. Like, well, shouldn't have done that. Like, I can even turn a little red. Like, sorry, right? But that's busha, that I felt the contradiction. And achana is saying the achana. The bigger the kli you have, the more you could retain. But achana is to find in yourself, know who you are, know where you're holding, find, right? And be able to feel that contradiction in your life and let it make a change in yourself. I should go like this.